Terry Blackburn here. I have a property portfolio worth over £10 million. I've built and sold multiple companies, some in seven-figure deals. I wrote two successful books, one won awards all over the world. All of these awards behind me are national and international awards for some of my companies. Coach people one-on-one, and I run masterminds. Now, if you like what I talk about in this session, if you listen to my podcast, you follow us on Instagram, you follow the YouTube page, if you like what I talk about and I resonate with you and you can relate to me, jump on my website, which is terryblackburnproperty.com. All of the different services that I have is on there. I'd love to work with you and I'd love to help you get to where you want to be, whether that's in property, whether that's in business, whether it's in sales, goal setting, whatever it is that you want to achieve and want to learn. I'm your man. Enjoy the rest of the episode and speak soon.
So hi and welcome to the Rags to Riches show with myself, Terry Blackburn. So today's episode is all about how to scale your business, whether it's a property business or whether it's a non-property business. These five key methods apply to both. It applies to any type of business, in fact. As you know, my background, I've built and sold multiple companies. I've scaled multiple companies in multiple industries. And I'm not just sharing these tips from something that I've read in a textbook. I'm sharing these from experience, and I've learned the hard way. I've made loads and loads of mistakes when trying to scale too big, too quick, not at the right time, not with the right foundations in place, not with the right staff in place. So I'm going to share with you the 5 key things that you absolutely need to do if you want to scale too. So, number 1, in the same in many parts of business and life, in fact, that if you want to get somewhere, if you want to scale, you first of all need the goal, right? You can't just fluke your way to being successful or stumble your way to achieving huge scale in your business. You need a clear, specific goal of where you want to get to. So that might mean you're making 100 grand at the moment and you want to get to 300. It might mean you currently got 5 properties and you want to get to 25. It might mean you want to make X amount of money, have X amount of team members, X amount of market share. Whatever that scaling goal is, it needs to be in place first of all. So you need the goal. You then need a plan to achieve that goal. A goal is the end destination. The plan is the steps, right? The end goal is what you put in your sat nav. And then when you turn left, you turn right, you stop and you start, you go around the roundabout. That's your plan. Yeah. So you need to apply that to business. You want to get here. How am I going to get there? And it also needs a deadline. So step 1 is you need a goal that's clear and specific. You need a plan how to get there, and you need a deadline when you want to get there by. Because you're not going to achieve any real scale of any relative size anyway without the goal, the plan, and the deadline. It's as simple as that. And that's a really basic point, but it's a really valid point as well. Get me coffee in. Well, it should be 6 ways actually. Drink loads of coffee if you want to scale. But point 2 is who, not how. So great book. If you haven't already read it, I would advise that you read it. But that principle applies to scaling your business. So let's say you're currently making 100 grand at the moment and you want to get 300. What a lot of people do is they think, right, well, how can I make £300,000 instead of who can I recruit or who can help me get to 300 grand? It's a completely different question. But everybody tries to do it themselves. A lot of people certainly try and be a solopreneur and all this nonsense, and they try and do it all themselves, but there is a ceiling. You are only one man or one woman. There's only so far you can get to by yourself. You absolutely need people around you. If you want to scale, which is what this podcast is about, you want to scale to any relative size, multi-million pound businesses, large teams, doing lots and lots of business, making lots of sales, doing lots of whatever, you absolutely need people around you. Whether that is a PA, a personal assistant, whether it's a virtual assistant. I've got a virtual assistant in the Philippines. I've got a personal assistant in Newcastle. I've got both, whether you want an ops manager, a marketing manager, an administrator, a head of sales, a sales trainer, a sales director, whatever it may be. You can't be thinking, like, how can I do all of this myself? Because you'll hit a ceiling. So it's about when you're setting your goal and you're building your plan out and you're thinking, right, well, that's where I want to get to. You now need to start thinking, right, well, that's where I want to get to, but who can I recruit? Who do I need to help me get there? Yeah, and that's a great principle. It's a great concept that I read about many years ago, and it always stuck with us because it's completely right. And I see a lot of people, some people that I coach and a lot of people that I speak to, are trying to do it all themselves. It's going to be a lot tougher, and you will not be able to go as far as if you have a team. So who, not how, remember that principle. Point number 3 is drink coffee. No, it's point 3 is increase marketing. So ultimately, again, there's an argument to say, people say, well, you know, I don't spend anything on marketing, I do it all organically from social media. Yeah, that's great, right? First of all, that's really hard to do. Second of all, not many people can do it. And most businesses need to market their products and services in some capacity, whether that's a Google Ads campaign, a PPC campaign, an SEO campaign. It's content like this. It is leaflet drops. It could be sponsorships. It could be the old-fashioned newspapers, news articles, TV adverts, whatever it may be that works in your industry. You need to turn the dial, because this podcast is about how to scale your business. The current marketing that you're doing has got you to where you are now. If you want to get to a different place, a place that's further ahead, or make more progress than you're making right now, you need to do more marketing. And a lot of the time that does mean spend on your marketing. It does mean you've got to spend more money. But if you've got a marketing method that's got a good ROI, you spend $1,000, you make $2,000, you just need to turn the dial. If I said to everyone listening to this now, right, well, every £1,000 you give me, I'm going to give you £1,500 back. How much would you give me? You probably empty your bank balance, right? I would. But that's what marketing is. You spend something to get more than what you've spent in return. So a way to scale quickly is find out, first of all, the marketing that works and ramp it up. Turn the dial. You can't get to any relative size without that. Whether that's organic traffic, there's going to be some paid traffic, some sort of paid marketing somewhere along the line. But my approach to marketing is do as much as you can and find out what works, and then ramp up and double down on what works. That's why I do loads and loads of content. I was on a Facebook Live this morning actually, and someone said, I see you everywhere, Terry. And I was like, yeah, because I've worked out that my marketing online works, so I'm doing more of it. Because the more of it I do, the more I can scale. It's as simple as that. So point 1 is have a goal, a plan, and a deadline for what you want to get to, where you want to get to, what scale do you want to achieve. Point 2 is remember who, not how. The concept, it's not how can I do all this myself, it's who can I get around me and who can I get to help me and recruit and employ to take me to where I want to get, where you want to get to. Point 3 is increase the marketing spend and double down on your marketing spend, on your marketing methods that work. Point 4 is get good staff, but in order to get good staff, you need to pay them well. Okay, so I fell victim of this when I first started off in business. I knew I needed staff, so I was getting them in on as cheap as I possibly could, paying them minimum wage, paying them as little as I could possibly get away with. And that's what a lot of people do. Certainly new entrepreneurs, they'll try and get people in and try and see what they can get away with. But if you pay someone pennies, you know, you don't expect to get a top output from that person, because the best people out there, the elite level people who will come and work for you, want good money. They ain't going to come for minimum wage. And their output is so much better than someone who, if you're paying them peanuts, right? What's the phrase? Pay them peanuts and you get monkeys or something? Is there a phrase on that? You get me point. But if you're paying people peanuts, you're paying them pennies, do not expect a quality output. Do not expect quality in fast and big results, because the people who can get you quality and big results will not come to work for you for pennies. And I learned this definitely. And once I got past paying people pennies and I started to think, right, well, I need to paying people good money now if I want to get the best people around me. As soon as I made that decision, I attracted better people. And as soon as I attracted those better people and they bedded into my business, it jumped. And yes, you might be thinking, well, I don't have the money to do that now. Right, well, get the money in. Work hard. Build your savings, build the bank balance, and then invest in stuff, because you can't scale to certainly anything of real size without good people around you. It's the who, not how thing, but it's not just getting anybody around you, it's getting good people. Okay? And the last point 5, is once you've got those good people in, you absolutely have to learn how to manage people. Now, this is often talked about as being the hardest part about business. In my experience, it's definitely the hardest bit about business. managing people, managing staff is so tough because people have different personality types. People have, different desires and needs and goals, and some people come to work just to get paid. Some people come to work because they want recognized. Some people come to work because they want to progress and get promoted. Some people come to work for various reasons, right? But what you have to learn is how to manage those different personality types. Some people, let's look at salespeople, for example, because my background is massively in sales. Some of my ex-sales staff, I could say, that is not acceptable. What are you doing? Sort it out. Like, I don't want to see this again. Fucking do it, right? I could say that to some people and they would respond in the right way and say, yeah, I tell you, you're right. It won't happen again. I'm going to change it. And they'll be off and they'll change it. If I said that same thing to some other people, some people would be really offended, really taken back, and they would quit. Right? Same message, but the person is different. That's because people are huge variables in business. They've got different personality types. They could be having a good day, a bad day. There could be certain age demographics might affect how they take it in. Their experience levels. Sometimes if someone's really experienced in a role and you're trying to tell them what to do and manage them, they'll feel like you're too much. Sometimes the young and apprentice type people, they need that type of direction. And there's salespeople are different to administrators. Operational type roles are different to personal assistants. So all of that comes into play, and I'm definitely not saying this is easy. It's definitely quite hard, actually. But once you get it right, you're absolutely laughing. Fantastic book to read. Apart from Terry Blackburn, Be a Lion, a fantastic book to read is called The 1 Minute Manager. Can't remember who the author is, but it's a fantastic book, and that teaches you about the different personality types and how to manage. Books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, that teaches you not only how to sell to people, but also how to manage people. Because when you manage someone, you're ultimately trying to get them to do what you want them to do. You're trying to get them to do what you want them to do. And sometimes just telling someone directly, do this now because I said so, won't work. And it's about understanding people, humans, and how they react and how they take in information, so you can get your management message across in the right way. Big subject. I could probably do a couple of hours on this subject alone, but just to cover off the 5 points, that is the last point. Learn how to manage people. It's probably one of the hardest skills you'll ever learn in business, but it's one of the most important too. So have a goal, have a plan, and have deadlines. Who, not how. Don't think, how can I do this myself? How can I do this? It's who can do this for me? Who can do this with me? Who can I get in to do this for me? Increase marketing budget and keep increasing it. And once you find the marketing method that works, that's got a good return on investment, keep ramping it up and keep spending more and more and more, because more and more will come in. Find good stuff. Now, you want ideally the best stuff you can possibly find. It depends on your budget, but you want the best stuff, because good stuff want good money, and if you want a good output, want good results and good work, then you need to pay them well. And lastly is learn how to manage people. It is, I think it's, I don't know, percentage, 50% of your success is determined by how you can manage your staff. You could have the best staff member in the world who does fantastic output. His results and the work that he or she produces is fantastic, but you treat them wrong. You don't treat them in the right way. You don't manage them in the right way. They're going to leave. A famous Richard Branson quote, which I used to have up on my office wall, was, train your staff so they're good enough to leave, but treat them well enough so they never will. And I think that's a good way to end the podcast. I think you should remember that quote and find the good people, but keep the best people as well. Because if you find the best people and you keep the best people, and you're keeping your marketing spend going and you keep pushing up and up, you'll scale to wherever you want to get to, and you'll have a bigger and better business ultimately. So thanks for listening to this episode. If you've liked what you've heard, if you've maybe got someone who's in business, a friend who's in business, a family member who's in business who you think could benefit from this session, please just click the share button, send it to them. You can send it on WhatsApp, you can send it on Messenger. Share this podcast with them, because I want to try and help as many people as I can. Because if I've helped you today, I might be able to help somebody else that you know. Remember, don't just take notes.